What's up everybody, welcome to Balkan Moto. Today we're going to start taking off the intake components and taking a look at what the situation looks like with the carburetors. Let's check it out. Alright, so first on the list is we're going to take off the breather box here. Things to mention, I did take it off earlier in the season, and there was a ton of oil that had sprayed out over here and down here, and then behind this cover there was actually oil inside of the breather box. I'm pretty sure that's because of the blow-by setup right now. I'm pretty sure that goes up and under the tank and into the actual air box where it just drips down into this and in here. So as part of this project, we're going to try to eliminate that so that the cylinders still have a blowback or blow-by air breather, you know, pressure decompression, whatever the hell it all does. But with the difference that it does not go back into the intake, but rather it gets vented out to atmosphere, and there's a oil catch can that will need emptying out periodically so that we can avoid having this mess inside of here. So to begin, let's start taking this off. I think this is just the 3 Allen keys here, and then behind it I'm pretty sure it's just this one, and can't remember if there was another one, but let's take a look what's behind there. So behind the air box you see the air filter, and as I mentioned before, even though I cleaned it, there's still oil collecting in here. So the blow-by or whatever it is definitely blowing a ton of stuff into here. So let's get this stuff off and removed and cleaned so there's no oil in it, and keep going. Alright, so here's the breather box from behind. I took it off the bike, and it seems like the design is that the blow-by goes into the top, it leaks down through here, and then there's a collection hole here which then essentially collects in this reservoir at the back. So I'm pretty sure this space is probably filled with oil right now, but also it's supposed to have this drain hose to drain it. So that's a little flawed. I need to figure out a better way to do this. Hopefully not blow oil through here. So let's see what things look like on the bike, which is not too bad. Like I do need to clean up around here, but then we have the air pipe here, and then the carburetors in the middle. So at this point we're gonna have to take the tank off to see what else is going on. So let's see how to do that and get it off. Alright, tank is off. We have the air box here. So let's get this cover off and see what's going on under there. Alright, so the cover is off, and I don't know if you guys can see this, but the gasket is completely oily. And then looking inside of the air box, there's a huge puddle right here of, as you can see, oil. Now, the reason for that is this opening right here. So that's hooked up to the hose that goes into the breather. So essentially, as pressure builds up in the chamber, any, I guess, oil and whatnot that cools that chamber or the head gets blown by and exhausted through here. So the pressure gets vented. This thing sprays out into here, into the whole covering case, and then just leaks out to the back, potentially getting into the rest of the places. Of course, the lowest point in here is this opening here, which leads to the air intake and the filter on this side, and eventually drips down to the bottom and makes a mess. So I think before we reassemble everything, after we're done cleaning the carburetors, we're definitely going to reroute that hose. So we might need to tuck it under here somewhere, I have seen some setups with pods instead of these velocity stacks. But we'll see what we're gonna do with that. For now though, let's just disconnect it and remove this, and then take a look at what we need to disconnect in order to get the carburetors out, so that we can thoroughly clean them and potentially readjust them, rejet them, and have them ready for when we do put potentially a new breather, new exhaust, so that the bike is all ready to go. So next on the list is removing the box here, which seems to be just this holding it, and potentially one on the other side to the intakes of the carburetors. Let's remove that and continue down the list. We'll need to clean things and so on and so forth. So the fun continues. We do have the big puddle of like gucked up grease here, but we also see that the bottom intakes are also greasy, which leads me to also seeing that there's grease inside of the intakes here and here, which means there's oil running through the carburetors or has been sucked into the carburetors over the years. Not the end of the world, but we will definitely need to clean all that out so that, you know, this motor starts to burn clean stuff and not oil instead. So yeah. All right, well, that's out of the way. Next, let's see. So the carburetors are held in place by, how do you take them off? I have to refer to the book to see what the procedure to taking them off is, but most definitely need to disconnect the throttle cable. The fuel is this guy, which goes into the pump and pumps it back here, which is, what is that? That's this. So okay, that's one fuel line here, and the other fuel line's on the other side. So these two need to be disconnected for sure. I see some cables running down through here, but I think those are for different purposes. And then I think I might need to take these boots out, because in order to unplug the carburetors from the intake boots, I do need to essentially rotate them like this, I think. And there ain't much room to rotate, so more than likely gonna have to remove this. How that's gonna happen is mystery, but nevertheless, let's take a look at that. So let's disconnect the throttle cable. Interesting, so this is a single throttle cable? No, it's two cables. So where's the second cable? What in the world? Oh, okay, there's a second cable here. Oh, these are the two throttle cables right here. So, two throttle cables. And that's the choke over here. So those all need to be disconnected. Well, let's take off this cover. I think that will give us some more access to what looks like the fuel for the cylinder 1 carburetor. And yeah, okay, so let's disconnect some more stuff. All right, so we're almost ready to take out the carburetors. In terms of procedure, had to take out the boots here for the intakes. Obviously the box on the top. Disconnect the fuel line. So this one was still has fuel in it, and it used to go down here. So that's out. The other one on the other side, this one used to go down here. So that's out. Needed to disconnect two harnesses here. One is for the carburetor heater, and the other one is for the throttle position sensor. There is a little hook here that they're held in by, so I can either bend that back and pull them out, or undo the screw, or this Allen bolt. We'll see how we're going to do that. But essentially, once I undo these, so these are free, pretty much we're loosening up the boots here and here, and we're gonna twist and then pull it all out this way. Once it's out, then we're gonna deal with disconnecting all the metal wires for the throttle, the starter, and the not starter, the throttle and the choke. And once we have that out, then we're good to proceed with full disassembly and cleaning. So let's get these babies out. All right, carburetors are off the motor, and pretty much exactly as I expected. You just kind of twist them and they come out once the boots are loose. So now just need to disconnect the throttle wires and the choke, and they should be off the bike. Let's get them onto the table. All right, carburetors are out. At this point, all we need to do around here is maybe clean up a little bit, but the focus now is fully on the carburetors. They're off, and it seems like, you know, comparing them to the carburetors on the V45, so on that guy there, they're a little more advanced. I mean, I'd hope they would be. I mean, the V45 is from the 80s, and this is a 2002 bike. And it still has fuel in it. I should probably drain them before I continue to move them around. Yeah, so I'll remove some of the bracketry. I'll check the tops and the bottoms to see how the valves are, or not the valves, how the jets are. Given how tight and interconnected these two carburetors are, I'll try to minimize disassembly as much as possible in order to get them into the ultrasonic cleaner, so we can clean them as a single unit, and then reset up all the float bowls as well as the jets without having to do too much work. So let's start by, well, before we go into this, let's clean up the bike and the motor a bit, and then we're gonna take a look at this again. Okay, so I wiped things down a little so that all the grease is kind of away. There still is a lot of dirt in between the fins, but honestly, can't be bothered. Now, one thing that I did notice is that these rubber boots on the carburetors are actually cracked from decay. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a crack here, and on the other one, again, kind of in the same spot. There's cracks all around. So they don't seem to be punctured, but they are old. So this bike being a 2003 model, we're looking at almost 20 years old. So I will check for replacements for these. Yamaha should be able to, I should be able to find it. But let's see, before we decide to take them off and rip them and make them completely useless, let's see if we can find replacement ones online. That should make sure that we're not getting any air leaks and misperformance on the carburetors. As for the carburetors, like I mentioned before, in the next episode, we're probably gonna take off all the electrical off of them, all the hosing, all the non-essentials, without kind of disturbing all the mechanisms on there. And then we're gonna check the jets, the float bowls, and probably even order replacements for a lot of those components to just rebuild these. And we're going to run these through the ultrasonic cleaner just to make sure that all the internals are actually fully clean. So that would be it. In terms of all this other shit, I'll probably clean it just so it doesn't end up spilling all this oil all over my tool bench. But for now, I think these are all kind of in decent condition. These ones were definitely still rubbery and not cracked or fully deformed anyway, so they just need a good cleaning. The air duct, which we'll see if we're going to end up using, is in a good condition, just needs, again, a thorough cleaning just because it's covered in gunk and oil. And yeah, but this will be it for this episode. Alright guys, that was it for this episode. We got the carburetors off the motorcycle and we're in good condition for essentially preparing them for what the final build would be. In the next episode we're going to look at cleaning and rebuilding them and potentially replacing these guys here before looking into again solving for the blow-by mechanism. So thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell for notifications when new videos become available. Check me out on Instagram at Balkan Moto 2018 and make sure to check out balkanmoto.com. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.